Welcome to the Fantasy Happy Hour. Fantasy Happy Hour. Presented by Sportsneak. With your hosts, Justin Sauce and Terry Licious. Starting in 3, 2, 1.
Boom, here we go. Fantasy Happy Hour, episode 82, I believe now. Welcome to all the new people subscribing. Thanks so much. We're on week 4 here. We got the Cincinnati Bengals 1-2 after a big win today, and the 3-0 Dolphins after, I don't know, would we call it an upset against the Buffalo Bills, that 2-point swing there. Exciting Thursday nighter. I think this one's going to be a shootout, but I'll just let you jump right into it, Taryn, and let us know what you got going on for this one.
Yeah, so Dolphins, one of the 3 undefeated teams left. I mean, we'll find out if the Giants join that tribe here on Monday night, but they're kind of the one that's shocking more than anybody, versus the kind of Super Bowl losing disappointment, I guess you call them, in the Bengals. Like, they've came out pretty flat, really poor offensive line play, which I'm going to get into. But first non-division game, we should point that out. So I think we've saw 3 straight. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. And there's no history with these two because they haven't played since 2020. And these teams are nowhere near the same team as they were in 2020. Both of them are very different, totally different offenses. So, we're doing this on Sunday, so the pricing isn't quite available. No lines yet, or I'd give an opinion on that, but a lot of people are going to shoot the over in this. I think it should be, upper quadrant for pace of play. If you look at both these teams, Cincinnati ranks number 1 in pace of play. So this should move quick, and it should be a lot of plays, and see a lot of volume from all these receivers. And of course, with volume comes lots of plays, lots of fantasy points. So this should be good. We go to these QBs too, currently ranked number 1 quarterback in the league. A little bit shocking after the way he came out, but his weapons, 2 fast, extremely talented receivers in Hill and Waddle. So I think you certainly can play him if you're stacking him a certain way. If you're leaning the Dolphin side, definitely take him. Go to Burrow. He finally showed up last week with 3 TDs against the lowly Jets, but a very concentrated receiver pool as well, and the 3 guys that I'm going to get into here in a bit. But, so we got 5 receivers and 2 very good quarterbacks. If you think this shoots out, I think this is at minimum a 1 quarterback kind of slate, if not 2. So think about that when you're setting your lineups. I kind of lean more towards Tua, and I'll get into why with the defense here a bit later. The running backs here, this is where these 2 teams it goes the opposite way. Great passing offenses, weak running games so far. Mixon left with an ankle injury. There's no update yet on him. P. Ryan came in, he got a passing TD earlier in the game, but he came in and he was okay. Very little room with this O-line. They're just not doing well in the run game, nor are they doing well in pass blocking. So I think that running backs are definitely contrarian in this spot, and specifically Joe Mixon or P. Ryan would be very different. The Edmonds-Mostert combo here in Miami, again, only 33 yards this week. I guess we're still in the week on Sunday here. But, Edmonds found his way into 2 TDs from the 1. So, it depends how you look at that. If you want to bank on that being good regression for him or positive regression. But, very tough to rely on a backfield that gets 33 total yards in this game. So using either running game, I think, is a way to be different. Stacking them with a quarterback is a good way to be different. So look at those options. Wide receivers. So these are 2 teams that have very concentrated wide receiver pools. So anybody you take outside of these 5 guys I'm going to mention is contrarian in a sense. So you could think about who to throw in past these guys, but I'm just going to talk about them. You got the Dolphins with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. They've garnered 30 and 29 targets each, and that's total out of all the receiver targets. That's 70. So 59 have went to these 2 guys. So, again, that's a huge percentage. The next closest guy is 5, and Trent Sherfield, who stumbled his way into a touchdown this week against the Bills. So, volume is very concentrated to 2 guys in this offense. So, if you're going to stack, you probably need one of these guys. I just can't imagine you can get away with going none of these unless, there's injuries that occur. Bengals, same logic, except they have 3. They have T. Higgins, they have Tyler Boyd, and they have Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase, 35 targets, Higgins, 19, and Boyd, 14. This is 68 of the total 73 targets on the season. So, you're looking at a 95% share between these 3 guys. Anybody outside of there, again, you're playing the guessing game. So, getting different at wide receiver in this matchup might be just a bad way to play the slate. You're hoping for that single TD guy, the Trent Sherfield, I don't even know who the next guys are in Cincinnati because it's so much to these three. And when you have three, I mean, there's a lot of room for those guys to just cover the whole game. So, it really depends on your stack here. And we did see one time last year in Showdown that stacking just receivers worked really well because you can get, 15 to 20 points out of all five. So I don't know if this will fit. I guarantee 4 maybe will fit, but not 5. But it's a good way to, get more points in the field because most people put quarterbacks in there. So if you expect a lot of scoring and a lot of spread to these wide receivers, go that way. Tight ends, again, very tough slate for this. Basically, these teams are concentrated in that receiver pool. Smith, Gesicki, you'll see about 3 to 5 targets to tight ends in this game. So far, not that great. Gesicki had 1 4-target game. Smythe kind of comes in here and there. Nothing big to note here. That's kind of a way to make your stack a little different, is to knock off a receiver, put in one of these tight ends. And then Hayden Hurst on the other side. I think this is probably the sneakier play. I don't know if it'll be sneaky or not, but he 11 total receptions so far, 5 and 5, and then 1 this past week against the Jets, but they didn't really need him. But he kind of potential regression in a positive way here, where he could catch that TD. He hasn't got a TD yet this season, so if he gets 4 receptions and a TD, he's probably a good play in this stack to kind of take yourself off one of those wide receivers. So those are the kind of the tight ends. And then we get into the defenses. Bengals finally showed up a bit against the Jets, but neither of the prior weeks. Playing a Miami O-line who's pretty good overall. They rank kind of in the middle. They've played pretty well, and Tua is relatively evasive. So this is kind of a tough game to think about going to the Bengals defense as much. I don't expect big results, but again, good way to be different. Hope they get that 1 TD off of interception. But the Dolphins, this comes down to maybe where you want to look at a defense. 1 pick, 1 forced fumble, 6 sacks. But this Cincinnati O-line has given up 15 sacks through 3 games against Joe Burrow. Like, that's extremely high, averaging 5 per game. I just see this, Dolphins could really break this from defense if this game goes awry, meaning maybe you want to onslaught stack the Dolphins here, go defense and 4 Dolphins, and then just have one guy coming back like a Jamar Chase if you can get him in, and hope that kind of works out. So that's kind of my thoughts, but I'll head her to the double doink section here. And Justin.
Yeah, thanks for that, Taryn. Double doink this week's a little bit quiet. Dolphin side, we got Jason Sanders here, very quiet in the fantasy front. 11 extra points throughout the first 3 weeks, which is nothing. Ignore that. And for field goals, only 2. He's 2 for 2, and they're both 40 to 49 yard field goals. So you're looking, I think, at the 4 points there. And you mix that in with, the on average of 3 extra points per game, fadeable. You ain't paying the $4,200 for the 7 extra points that you may get. So, but on the other side of the ball, it's a little bit more exciting. You got Evan McPherson, who's 7 for 9 on field goals, which is a little bit concerning because those are the easy ones to just get those easy points when you take a kicker. 3 for 4 on extra points, 7 for 9 on field goals. But he missed one of the chip shots. It was 20 to 29 yarders, a little bit concerning. 3 for 4 on the 40 to 49, and then 2 for 2 on the 50 plus yarders. So if you're going to take a chance on a kicker, which this week I probably wouldn't either, you would be definitely contrarian taking McPherson. He's the better of the two from fantasy history here. So that's where I'm at with the double doink. I would say fade them both, but if you're mixing in a lot of lineups and you're going those ways and looking for ways to just be different and mix in those perimeter players, Evan McPherson is the play. If you want to be very contrarian and you think the Dolphins are if it's gonna be a shootout and they're gonna get those field goals just throughout the game, then sure, throw in Jason Sanders. I personally would fade him, but you never know. Depends on how many lineups you're playing. And then I just want to touch on 2 players there, and you already touched on them, but the sneakier ones that are going to be not the highest price players, still a healthy price, but which could definitely is Hayden Hurst. You look at him, he was 5 for 8 and 5 for 7 weeks 1 and 2, and then very quiet week today, 1 for 2. No TDs. If he gets that 1, that's a steal of a deal. And he'll probably be priced around the 5 to 6K mark is what I anticipate, somewhere around there. So great perimeter pickup just to round out your lineup. And then Jalen Waddle. He's my favorite on the receiving side because you look at him weeks 1 and 2, he was 11 for 19 with 2 TDs and 4 for 5 with 1 TD, which huge fantasy output. And even today, he still had 102 yards on his 4 for 6, some good fantasy output there and no TDs. So, you're looking at the ownership, and Tyreek Hill is going to take the majority of it from players on the Dolphins receiving core. So 2 great players. He's my sleeper for the captain slot there for showdown this week. But anything else you want to touch on there?
I don't know if I have anything more fantasy wise, but I do have this weird feeling that this could be a letdown spot. I think everybody's going to look to this to be a, high passing, large volume game. And maybe this short week on the road for the Dolphins, maybe this just turns into a bit of a slugfest, low scoring, under slow game where the defenses come out and, you have a few good fantasy outputs, but maybe that's a way to build because that will be the way to be different this week. So certainly look to that or think about that if you're wanting to just enter one lineup.
And let's not forget about the butt punt this week. Tough look on the Dolphins for the butt punt, but happens to the best of us. You get a butt punt at least once every 5 years. And then also watch for the concussion protocol. We're not really sure what's going to happen. He pulled something in his back at one point, and be cognizant of the short week with Tua here. So keep updated on the injury report. Nothing as of right now when we're recording this, but thank you guys so much for watching the last week's week 3. We hit 1,000 views for the 3rd or 4th time, which is great. So we appreciate it. Give us a comment who you're taking or who you like in this one. Give the video a thumbs up. It really helps. And if you really enjoy our stuff, well, then click subscribe. We crossed 200. That's a huge milestone. So we're pumped. Next goal is 300. So hopefully by next year we'll be at 300. Sweet. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll talk to you for week 4.